Hello, everyone, and welcome to the March 2026 episode of Voices of CFMA, sponsored by Premier Construction Software. I'm Sal Marino, and today I'm joined by Tobin Paxton, co-founder of MITRE and a leader helping construction companies think differently about how they operate. MITRE is CFMA's newest elite partner, so this conversation is a great opportunity to learn more about Tobin, the company he helped build, and the challenges and opportunities he's seen across the construction industry now. All right. Well, Tobin, thank you for joining me. Let's start off. Can you tell us a little bit about your role at MITRE, maybe what you do day to day?
Sure. Yeah. First of all, just stoked to be here. Big fan
Awesome.
of this podcast in general, and I feel like I'm meeting a friend already just based on my listening hours. So I'm part of the founding team of MITRE, which means I've done a lot over the past 6 or 7 years. The distribution of my time has shifted a lot. I started implementing customers. I implemented 200 of our customers to start and really just learn the nuts and bolts of how to take a customer live on a software product. Today, I spend a lot of my time pre-sales. So I focus
Okay.
on growth and marketing and sales and working with folks like the CFMA, just trying to figure out how we can better partner together.
Very nice. What do you enjoy most about your job?
What do I enjoy most? I love talking to people. And yeah, I think one of the sort of like most powerful things about our customer base is that they're just endlessly fascinating.
Right.
So when we were starting MITRE, the first question we had was not, how big is the market or what is the competitive landscape? The first question was, is this something we could see ourselves doing for decades? Like, this is not a project that you embark on unless it's a problem space that you say, hey, I could wake up in 20 years and be totally thrilled, doing what I'm doing. And so I'd say, my favorite part of day to day is, honestly attending events or just going on site to customers and hearing what projects are they working on, how are they thinking about growing their business. My wife is not too thrilled about this, but I was on the road 18 weeks straight last year.
Wow.
I just ping pong around, going to events and meeting with customers, and I still feel like 5 years, 6 years into that sort of roadshow circuit, I'm still at the steepest part of my learning curve. Like, I'm still
Yeah.
learning new things every single day from our customers.
Wow. I feel like I should have had her on as a co-guest so she could explain how she really feels. We could have got a therapy session here.
Yeah.
So take us back a bit. How did you get started in your career? What led you into the space to begin with?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. So I, started my career, focused, actually consulting on vertical software. So I actually worked with lots and lots of different industries trying to implement and build software for their industry. So one of the most salient projects there was actually working for trucking, and we were helping these owner operators understand their costs on a sort of per job basis, and that created this kernel very early on when I was 20 years old on just sort of the power of unlocking very industry specific workflows that maybe historically were unavailable for whatever reason in the existing set of software.
Right.
So I had that kernel in my head. I have sort of always had this entrepreneurial bug. So I wanted to join a very early stage startup. I joined as one of the first employees at a company selling HR software that didn't really work for a number of reasons. And I think part of it was we just weren't solving like a very core problem to what the C-suite truly cared about. And while I was there, our CEO internally made a big sort of internal announcement of, hey, we are rolling out a new HRIS and workforce management platform. This is one of the most important initiatives in the company. We all need to invest in this new product because it's going to help us make smarter decisions faster. So I had that second kernel in my head of like, hey, what, like, I wish we were selling that software. That sounds like amazing software to be building and enabling for our customers. And then the thing that like really tipped it over the line for me to know like, hey, I want to sort of focus on these sorts of problems hopefully for the rest of my career, was I was at home for Thanksgiving. I'm from Amarillo, Texas. My mom is a bookkeeper for a homeless shelter in Amarillo. And
Wow.
she was late to Thanksgiving dinner getting payroll out. And I was just curious, like, hey, can I tag along? Like, what are you focused on? She was like, oh, yeah, I mean, it's amazing. We actually just rolled out QuickBooks Desktop, and it is so much more advanced than what we were using before. And I remember just working through that with her, just being like, holy smokes, like this is the advanced version of,
Right.
what you're dealing with. And so those sort of like constellation of events got my ears perked up to like, like some interesting problems to solve along this dimension. And it was when I met my co-founder, Connor, in California when I moved out here, that it really tipped over to more of an obsession than just a curiosity. Because he, at the time, was interning as a bookkeeper for a construction firm. He had been sort of thinking about the intersection of technology, construction, and accounting for a couple years. And we would meet up after work, and I saw his 100-yard stare turn into a 200-yard stare, turn into a 300-yard stare, as he just got deeper into the sorts of problems that construction CFOs wrestle with every single day. Until finally we said, hey, let's just reach out to all the folks in the Bay Area, say, we're not trying to sell you anything. We want to bring lunch to your office and just watch you do your job. And we are going to ask so many dumb questions. You're going to be annoyed with us by the end of it. Surprisingly, a lot of people took us up on that.
Okay.
And it took about 3 or 4 times where on the drive home, I remember we visited a asphalt business in the Bay Area that does large Caltrans projects, and just seeing sort of the sort of depth that the folks internally had to go to stay compliant and understand what was actually happening on the job site, and how under-equipped their back office was to answer really important questions for their business. It was just so incredibly clear, like this is a cool, interesting project that is solving real things for the people who are building highways, in our town, shaping the world
Right.
around us. And so on that drive home, we both called our wives and said, "Hey, we're gonna quit our jobs and we're doing this." And that was potentially another conversation there that could be a therapy session for our podcast.
It's amazing. Is your mom still using QuickBooks?
She is.
Yeah.
She is.
All
Yeah.
right.
Um, yeah. Every time I go home to Amarillo, there's another thing that lodges into my mind of what should be on our product roadmap. The
Right.
last trip, drove to the bank with her to drop off money, and they have no like they just write paper checks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
But
I try to not bring too much work into conversations when I'm catching up with my mom, but it's
yeah. But
increasingly.
but does she know that she's the inspiration for these things?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay. Good.
I think so. Both my parents are CPAs. They would probably try to deny that they have been subtly influencing me down this path my entire life, but I suspect secretly they're both thrilled that uh,
Yeah.
all roads lead to accounting.
That's awesome. So how has the original vision of MITRE evolved since you guys first thought of it?
Yeah, it's a really great. It's a really great question. I mean, I think fundamentally, so what MITRE does, we're a human capital management and workforce management platform for contractors, and so that is understanding how well you're doing hiring, retaining, and promoting your team, and then understanding what is actually happening on the job site. Are we making money or losing money on a given project? I think on a tactical product basis, things have evolved a lot. We've sort of expanded our product surface area very substantially over the past few years. But fundamentally, the why behind MITRE and the problems we want to solve is
Right.
pretty much the exact same
Is
from
it?
day one, which is really solving a lot of those, we call it lizard brain problems that any business owner has, which is, do I have a strong team? Like, are the people internally raising the bar and delivering for our own customers? Do I actually know if I'm making money or losing money in real time? Is my data in sync? Like that core fundamental questions that any business owner asks is sort of consistently at the forefront of everything we do, I don't think is gonna change for decades.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think some of the biggest challenges that you're seeing construction companies face right now?
Yeah. Labor is the
Yeah.
obvious one. I think there's an interesting industry dynamic right now. I was actually on site with a customer earlier this week, and I asked a version of that question, and they just said manpower, full stop.
Yeah.
That was the end of the conversation. But if you look at sort of what's happening in the industry, there's unprecedented investment. With the Chips Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, investment in data centers, et cetera. There's more money flowing into U.S. infrastructure than the New Deal. Like this is a New Deal level of infrastructure investment that has never been
Right.
seen before in the U.S. And at the same time, uh, folks are leaving the workforce. It is, depending on what estimate you want to trust, there's 500,000 workers who need to be hired into construction over the next few years. So you have more demand than folks have felt in a very, very long time.
Right.
At the same time, it's never been harder to sort of compete for talent. So that is, I think, probably occupies the most mind share for our customers and something that we're sort of like increasingly excited to figure out how we can help them solve.
Nice. Um, where do you see the most, I guess, friction in day-to-day operations?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think there's if I were to think about like sort of like the fundamental problem that needs to be solved first before one of our customers or one of if you're a CFO, you can sort of make better decisions, is just like your data backbone. Like, do I trust the information that is coming in? Do I have systems to be able to verify whether that information is accurate? And does it talk to other systems internally so that everybody across the business is making informed decisions on data that they trust. And, I think we're still in the early innings of just moving to the cloud and having more interoperable systems that talk to each other where data can push and pull
Right.
between other systems. My sort of favorite example here is we just signed up a very large customer in our top whatever,
Right.
and 900 employees. They move up and down the East Coast. And their CFO said, "Hey, we are still cutting paper checks in the field for reimbursements and per diems. And our time system and our payroll system don't talk to each other. So it could take weeks for me to know if I'm making money on a job or not." And when you're that big with that many employees moving around, just having clarity and visibility and near real time kind of is like the most important fundamental problem. And I think that's where a lot of these firms are like pulling the future forward. They're saying, "Hey, how
Right.
do I get to that world as quickly as possible?" And we're like pretty energized to see just how many people sort of recognize like there are opportunities to dramatically improve that data backbone across their organization. Yeah, I think I just like consistently turn back to this idea of I see them like reaching into the future and pulling it forward as quickly as they can. And um, it's fun to like help them think through those sorts of problems and see where we can plug in.
Yeah. And when you heard that, did it surprise you, or is that what you're seeing a lot of?
I wouldn't say I was surprised or it was yeah. I mean, I think the overwhelming thing we've experienced from even the sort of earliest conversations we've had with customers, and at this point we have 1,500 customers using Miter on a daily basis, was almost like impatience to retool and build out internal infrastructure in their company so that they can answer those questions of, do I have the right team in place? Am I hiring the right people? Am I promoting the right people? What sort of projects and opportunities are out there? So I think the initial hypothesis was this industry um, is sort of craving modern job based software to help them make smarter decisions or faster decisions, at least. And that has been sort of a universal theme from day one, like
Right.
impatience with the status quo, and an excitement to um, build sort of the modern firm or a firm that is future proofed for the next couple decades.
Yeah. Awesome. So where do you see the biggest opportunities for construction finance teams to work smarter and operate more efficiently?
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think there's a few dimensions. Obvious one is the data, the backbone I was describing of my timesheet, my equipment data, my quantity data, my materials information. Is that flowing in real time? Do I trust it? Is that connecting into my ERP or other adjacent systems I'm using? First and foremost, it's like, how do I go from chasing data to like actually analyzing data? What we're seeing a lot of firms focused on. But beyond that, I think there's really exciting automation opportunities. So we think about it less as how do we automate and take a human out of the loop, but more as how do we put your team in an Iron Man suit? If you are a controller today doing a lot of manual tasks in Excel, what are the opportunities to eliminate as many of those manual tasks and manual errors as possible related to filling out certified payroll reports, calculating prevailing wage or weighted average overtime, dealing with multi state tax filings, and instead free up your time to focus on what does our leadership program look like, or how are we actually recruiting
Right.
and building sort of an employer brand in our market so people want to work here. So, we think there's lots of fun, interesting projects on just getting the data to work. And then, on top of that, like unblocking workflows so that people are spending less time, banging their heads against their monitor trying to get a, formula to work. And instead, focusing on those sort of like broader tasks of
Yeah.
do we have really great talent internally? And is that trend, are we consistently hiring better people so that we know we're future proofed on the team front or on the people front as well?
That's awesome. So how were you first introduced to CFMA?
Yeah. Um, I mean, so we love the CFMA. I've personally gone to about 40 national and regional events.
Very nice.
And I think it was, in the early days, we were attending, various events, and you could almost see people's eyes glaze over when they read payroll or read construction accounting
Right.
on our board. And it was discouraging because we were like, oh gosh, like these problems are so interesting. Like, why are people not rushing up to our booth? And then we went to our very first CFMA conference, and it was that. It was like, oh, like this is, these are our people. Like this is, the highest density of, folks in this industry who care deeply about these problems and are excited to, talk about them. So I think we almost stumbled into it 5 years ago, attending, a couple local events, and now we have I think just north of 200 customers who are CFMA members. And so a lot of my experience now is going to regional dinners and sort of seeing how this sort of local CFMA communities are like this great combination of um, eager up and coming young professionals who are trying to grow in their career, and then incredibly established folks who have incredible experience who want nothing more than to help folks move up the learning curve. So, um, yeah, it was like pretty much the first moment we walked into our first CFMA event, we knew that this was uh, a group we wanted to spend a lot of time with, purely just based on trying to fight people back from our booth as they were rushing up from that first event.
Well, it's a good problem to have. So now you are an elite partner. What are you most excited about as this relationship sort of begins?
So I mean, I think there's when we were in the initial conversations with CFMA about how can we lock arms and partner together. One of the things we did was we put the MITRE mission and the CFMA mission next to each other, and you could potentially argue that there was some plagiarism. Like they were like it is one to one. The Venn diagram is perfect overlap, and it fundamentally comes down to advancing our industry. Like
Yeah.
MITRE, what we say our mission internally is a better built world. We want to support people who are shaping the physical world around us and help them be more effective and build more resilient companies. And we think the only way we can do that is to be maniacal students of our customers' problems. And as I said, like I want to be so early on my learning curve of how this industry works and the sort of problems we can solve. And the sort of most exciting thing about this elite partnership is I think we just have tremendous access to people who care as much about solving these problems as we do, have extreme context and experience, and can provide just incredibly rich feedback. And importantly, they're not shy.
Right.
I think CFMA members, one thing I love about them is they speak their minds and yeah, they're willing to, go deep on really hard problems. And yeah, I think just the thing that I was so excited about for this partnership was just how can we increase those number of interactions and learning opportunities for our team, as much as possible.
Awesome. Well, I will say that as the editor for CFMA Building Profits, I take plagiarism very seriously. So I will talk to Neil about this because I don't want that hanging over our heads. So, okay, outside of work, what do you enjoy doing?
This is boring, but I have a toddler at home. So my
Wow.
outside of work hours are changing diapers, chasing a toddler, and trying to catch up on sleep. Beyond that, my sort of primary activities are, non-miter related, I suppose, are hiking and going to the park with my kid. Candidly, don't really have much time for anything else at this stage in my life.
Yeah, I bet. I remember the toddler days. They were a lot, and nothing boring about that at all. Catching up on sleep is awesome.
Correct. Correct.
It really feels great. So, what might listeners be surprised to learn about you?
I think one is I'm a sixth generation Texan. I, currently live in California, and I get a lot of grief because I've, in many ways, miss living in Amarillo, and I think I'm probably going to be in California for the long haul.
Yeah.
Just got a great support network here with my wife's family. But other than that, I don't think there's too much surprising. I'm a pretty open book. Spend most of my time thinking about certified payroll in various states and how does MITRE itself hire and attract and retain really great people.
Very nice. Um, so I've been lately ending the conversations on the podcast with a fill in the blank question. Um, and it's in the future. I hope CFMA will blank. Do you have an answer for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have lots of thoughts here. I would say maybe I'll give you two.
Okay.
Um, the first I think that this will have a lot of overlap with how you spend your time. Um, but I hope the CFMA will become the center of gravity for the best sort of construction finance content beyond just CFMA members. And an example I have here is I was recently talking to somebody in Southern California who said, "Hey, we had the Palisades fire. There's the
Right.
Olympics. Do we have the labor in Southern California to rebuild from the fires and invest in all the infrastructure we need for the Olympics? Like, what is actually happening with those labor dynamics?" And I think there's just a very cool opportunity for CFMA to write really detailed, long form editorial content along those lines. Like if you are trying to help rebuild Southern California, like
Right.
what are you wrestling with, and what are other CFMA members in that region sort of doing to anticipate that problem? And I think there's just such a tremendous opportunity to X the amount of content along those lines. The second thing is, I sort of my favorite CFMA moment was attending a Miami chapter dinner, and there were about 25, 30 people there.
Okay.
Um, and there was a relatively broad theme of, hey, how are we moving to the cloud? Like, what are people doing to sort of move into the 21st century? And seeing just how engaged everyone was and sort of how eager people were to sort of share their perspective and learn from each other gave me just really deep conviction that everybody, if you are in construction or you care about construction finance, like should be a CFMA member. So just thinking about how they can sort of merchandise those like very sort of local, like hyper local interactions and networks and use that to, hopefully widen the tent and bring in lots and lots of CFMA members over the next few years.
But this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you joining me.
Yeah, likewise. I enjoyed it. Thank you for the time, and it was great to meet you. And again, yeah, it's really fun to be on the other side of this. This is one of the top podcasts in my podcast feed these days. So I appreciate
Awesome.
the time.
And thank you all for joining me on another episode of Voices of CFMA, sponsored by Premier Construction Software. If you'd like to learn more about CFMA, check out cfma.org. I will see everyone back here next month. Thanks for listening.